Welcome to Money Conversations with KJ. KJ is a lifelong entrepreneur who's made a lot of money, lost a lot of money, and found his way back again. If you're looking for a sterile how-to, you're in the wrong place. KJ and his guests will walk you through real-life situations told by the people who live them, and they are as messy as they are inspiring. Each episode will offer lessons learned, advice on how to replicate successes and avoid pitfalls, and a new perspective to power your financial literacy. Far from a one-size-fits-all, this podcast can help you build a roadmap to your personal promised land. Milk and honey for some, whiskey and steak for others, and remind you that you're not alone on this journey.
Well, hello everybody. Welcome back to the show, Money Conversations with KJ. I'm here today with a special guest that I actually just met, I don't know, a week ago.
Exactly.
About a week ago, yeah. Ronnie. He's a mortgage lender, deals with money, with OPM, other people's money, helping them out. And I thought, man, he'd be a great guy on the podcast. Because your perspective with money with other people is unlike most, right? You're like a doctor. You get to look under the hood, so to speak, and see where people are. So we'll get into that in a few minutes. But first, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, I think it'll be exciting. I think there'll be some good takeaways here for you guys out there listening, and let's get some more of these money lessons going. So let's start off with Ronnie. I'd like to start back going early, as far back as you can remember, because I think, I can't remember if you told me how old you were. You're like in your 30s?
Yeah, I'm 38.
38.
Yeah, getting old.
Yeah, not quite there. You're getting old when you catch me. But as far back as you can think, when did you realize what money was for, that we were trading it for things?
Well, growing up, I never really was taught anything about money. It was kind of like a realization of just situations I was going through when I was younger. Mm-hmm. I think the biggest realization was when my parents got divorced. So it kind of made me, my mom was a single mom then. Mm-hmm. She stopped all her education for us to raise us and everything. My dad was, the provider. So seeing her kind of go through transition to, taking care of everything on her own, it kind of was a big realization for me and a motivation as well, because she went back to school. She ended up graduating. And not only did she put food on the table, but, she accomplished some of those goals that she had for herself that she put aside before us.
That's awesome. I hear this story, which we all know there's just way too many single moms to begin with, right? Dads have to take care of business and but things happen in life. But as I'm hearing you, and I've heard this story over and over again, that, okay, and mom generally gets the kids 90% of the time, not 100, but 90, right? Then now it's up to mom to teach you all these life lessons, right? So you had mentioned that, did mom actually sit you down at any point in time, at any age, and talk to you about money?
No, she really didn't. I just kind of, just from watching and observing what was going on, it just kind of gave me that motivation deep down inside to do better, right?
Yeah, you know what? When you tell me this, God, this is such a common story, that what we learn from watching and listening. But we do this all through life, right?
Yep.
Like, this is why, sometimes you'll reach out to find a mentor or something. But early in life, you're not even recognizing this yet. We don't know as kids. Like, how old were you when this divorce happened, and that's just mom and you and some siblings?
I was in 8th grade, so I would think
what was about 10, 12?
About 14.
14?
I was thinking.
I can't even remember how old we are in 8th grade.
So long ago.
Right?
Yes. So, that really just taught me to value money more, right? Because at that age, you just kind of, you have no worries in the world, and you just kind of, want certain things, and you don't understand how those things are gotten, Until
you use the key word there, and I teach this. You want, right? We all want things at such an early age. A 14-year-old wants 14-year-old stuff, but you want, right? It's not what you need, because mom's providing what you need.
Exactly.
Food, clothing, shelter, right? But you want things. So as you're watching mom and you're starting to emulate her, right? Now this is where the rubber hits the road, guys. Even at the age of 14, like when this divorce happened in your family, that you're learning these lessons subconsciously. And again, and I don't know yet, we'll find out in a second. If your mom was a spender, you're going to be a spender. If your mom was a saver, you're going to be a saver. If she was a hard worker, you're going to be a hard worker, right? These are the people we become, right? And if you look back now, you can look back now at 38, like some of the lessons in life that you've gone through, like, wow, whether you realize it or not, those were lessons. Even maybe though some of these lessons weren't spoken, right? You watched. So what do you think is the biggest lesson as you look back now that you got from your mother and you talked about it with her?
Well, I think the biggest thing is just having aspiration, right? Having a goal and working hard towards that. And definitely, growing up in that kind of situation, you feel like you're so motivated to reach that goal because you want to change, your environment and everything around you. So, I learned, nothing's given to you. So you're just going to have to go out there, work hard, believe in yourself, and don't listen to the loud noise around you.
But these are lessons that mom taught you.
Definitely.
Were they verbal lessons or both watching?
It was more from, watching. We did discuss here certain things, and, I did get inspired from our many conversations that we had. And, also, granted, my dad was a big role in my life as well. He was successful at what he did. He was living proof if you do go work hard, you're going to achieve what you want in life. So that, with that combination of that hunger, growing up in a certain circumstance with, seeing, having a role model and actually that's actually lived it out, and it just gave you so much more confidence to just, go out there, believe in yourself and, make something happen. So at a young age, it was a great tool to have.
So when you saw your parents go through that journey, and this is why you emulated them, it sounds like, because, well, mom and dad had all those aspirations. They worked hard, and they got successful. So this formula works.
Yes.
Right? This is what we tell ourselves. Now, kudos for your parents for that, really. I mean, I can't applaud them really huge because this is not the norm. You know what I mean? And again, people that struggle with money, right, and we'll get into yours in a minute, is because those things weren't happening for them. So that's why I say I really applaud your parents for this, even though it sounds like you had a household, divorce, but that doesn't mean that you never saw dad or something. Dad was always still in the picture, and whether they realize it or not, parents are teaching us, right? Because we're watching. Who else are we going to watch at 14 years old, right? I can't remember. Did you say you have kids now too?
I do. I have 2 kids myself.
How old are they?
They're 5 and 8.
Have you had any money conversations with them yet?
I since a very young age, when my oldest daughter was 3, I was already in her ear, about money. And the biggest thing for me was just to make them understand, to invest your money, have your money work for you. And that was something that I wish someone would have told me at a younger age, because I kind of went into the phase of with my mom's kind of mindset of always saving. And not till I got older, I realized, well, man, this money's just sitting here. What am I doing here? I got to earn some type of interest on this and got to put it somewhere. I got to make it work, and that was the biggest thing for me, is to understand, to make my kids understand, the value of money, not only the value of money, but to understand to always have it working for you. And even now at their age, they own cryptocurrency. They do have some stocks, so they put their money already in there. Which I wish it took me to when I was about probably 26 to start investing. Right. If I would have started at their age,
Oh yeah, the Monday morning quarterback, right? If I only could have, would have, should have, right? Yeah. Well, that's awesome that you're teaching your kids, because at such a young age, they don't realize it, and they most likely won't realize it until they're in their 20s, how valuable these lessons that you've given them. And hopefully they just keep stair-stepping and being proactive with understanding nothing makes more money than money, right? They're going to go trade time for money doing something, when they get of age, or trade value for something. But at least now, if they've learned the lessons, and more importantly, I like to call habits. Right.
That's correct.
Because, Warren Buffett has a lot of sayings, and one of them is, if you don't learn how to make money while you sleep, you're going to work till you die. And that's what investing is, right? Investing is our money making money 24/7, 365. Yep. And so that the fact that they learn that lesson so early, for some of you guys that are out there that have kids, I don't think 3 and 5 years old is too early. At all, no. Right? Because our minds are at that age, our minds are soaking in so much information. We're learning so much so fast that it really is the right time to do it before, unfortunately, a lot of us, myself included at that age, we develop bad money habits. And any bad habit, whether it's money or food or whatever, bad habits are hard to overcome.
Oh, definitely.
Right.
Yeah.
And then, teaching the value of time, right? There is just nothing more valuable than time. So you had mentioned goals. What kind of conversations did you and Mom have about goals? Did you write your goals down from a young age? Do you still write them down today?
I do so more today than I did when I was younger. We had the conversations, and when you're a kid, you dream big.
Which is awesome. I think we'd all should dream as big as possible.
Yeah, definitely. And I think that played a big role in where I've gotten in life. When I was at that age, you just dream of certain things, and you don't actually think some of these things will come true. And then when they do, you look back and it's just kind of like you're in amazement. Like, wow, I'm glad that I learned that when I did, and I stuck with it the whole time.
Right. So, but do you write goals down? I mean, how far back do you remember that you're writing goals, whether it's daily, monthly, annually, whatever the case may be?
I would say I started like when I was 18, 18, I started writing a lot of things down, and it was just more to kind of just make me, because then you're trying to you're kind of soul searching, right? Trying to figure out what it is in life you want to do, So, if you write down your ideas, you could always go back to it, because you get random ideas, and it may be a great idea at the time, but you don't think so, So I always like to go back to it and kind of review it, and, it kind of gives you a vision of where you want your life to go.
Kind of a roadmap, I like to call it, right?
Yeah.
But understanding the difference between dreams and goals, right? A goal is something that we can actually reverse engineer to reach it, right? And that's why it's so important to write goals down. I use examples of vacations, right? You hear people all the time going, hey, when I make some extra money, I want to go to usually the other side of the planet. In our case, let's say Italy, right? And I ask people, great. I mean, Italy, I hear is a great place. I personally haven't been to Italy yet, but I hear it's great. It's awesome. And you really want to go there. Oh yeah, someday I want to go there. I'm like, well, did you figure out what's it going to take to actually go do this? Did you figure out, I want to go for 7 days, 10 days, 2 weeks, whatever that is. And did you actually break down airfare, hotel, daily spending? So you actually would come up with a number of, man, for me to go to Italy for 2 weeks, for let's say you got a spouse, my spouse and I is going to cost $12,000, let's just say, right?
Yeah.
Then you got to figure out, okay, I want to do this. I need $12K. How am I going to get $12K? I got to pay my bills.
Yeah.
Right. Well, this and that. And you figure it out. Right. And once people actually can reverse engineer that all the way down to, okay, I know every paycheck I got to save $14.50 or whatever, the number is.
Yeah.
So I can reach this goal of mine of going to Italy. Have you ever dissected a goal in that manner?
Oh, definitely. I think my whole life, it's been on the journey to achieve my goals. Right. I learned from a very young age, to sacrifice. To get what you want, to achieve those goals, and that was one of the biggest things for me, because I worked so hard, and at that age, you want to go buy all these certain things that in a year from now you're just gonna forget. So I learned to sacrifice those things, and to work towards my bigger goal that I had, which all the other kids were still in the mindset of living in the moment, which I was, but I was always saving for tomorrow, And I think the biggest things looking back, in which is I preach with my kids, is you have to, yes, it's great to save, right? And that was the kind of the old mindset of thinking, which I got from my parents. Mm-hmm. And nowadays it's you want to invest, you got to take risks, calculated risks. One of the biggest things that always stuck with me is if you're scared to take risks, in the end, you're risking it all.
Exactly.
Right. So that was the biggest thing that's always kind of stuck with me when I transitioned into that mindset that I have to take risk. And it just, even if you fail, in my eyes, it wasn't failing because I took the risk.
Well, there's a big difference, guys, the difference between investing and gambling. Because if you're out there and somebody has some tip or whatever on some stock, oh, you got to buy it, go buy it right now, hurry up, blah, 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 and you didn't do any homework on it, that's gambling. 100%, okay? Yeah. That's not a calculated, educated, let me go figure out, hey, what is this company, what's it doing, and just doing a lot of homework, right, before you say, I'm going to put my hard-earned dollars on this stock because, blah, blah, blah. Unless you're privy enough to be somewhat Warren Buffett's best friend, and he's like, dude, you got to get in on this. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Someone who does their due diligence. Otherwise, I think we all really have to realize the difference between risk and gambling.
Yeah, 100%.
And I think most people out there gambling.
Yeah.
And or always remember, whatever investment you do, the mindset of considering it gone when that money leaves, right, your pocket, so to speak, like, just make sure you're not investing next month's mortgage, right?
100%.
So it has to be almost expendable money. Like, listen, I'm not waiting for my return for 6 months, year, 2, 5, whatever it may be, that I can afford to go park that money over here and wait this thing long term, right?
Yeah.
I think so. If you've learned that valuable lesson early, that's better for you. And then these are the lessons you're teaching your kids?
Oh, definitely.
What kind of questions are these? Because your kids are how old right now?
8 and 5.
What kind of questions is a 5 and 8 year old asking about investing? I'm real curious about this one.
It's more so like just teaching them, right? Building the foundation for them, and I think that's important, to make them understand as well, like at this age, to take sacrifices to be able to invest, right? And like, with my son all the time, he's into, Pokemon cards or cars or whatever, and he'll have his like, we reward him with money here and there, and he'll have his little money and be like, man, like, Daddy, let's go buy some cars today, and like, and I'll kind of be like, well, is that really what you want to do? You have 100 cars already. I said, why don't you take a little sacrifice and let's buy some cryptocurrency today, or let's invest in, it's invested, right? In a year from now, that car, you're gonna forget about it. It's gonna be lost somewhere, and I kind of make them understand that as well. Like, yes, we want to live life and enjoy the things now in the moment, but at the same time, if we could take some sacrifices, for our future, we definitely should,
For sure. I mean, again, I think what you're doing for your kids right now, and I hope most people will do, and this is easier said than done. Simple, not easy, right? Which is getting your kids to create habits. I talked about that in the very beginning. It's more about habit forming. It's more about whatever whether, say grandparents gave them $100 for birthday or whatever, that $100, if they know the first thing I'm doing with that part of that 100 is putting it away. I'm investing it, or I'm putting it in savings because I'm saving for XYZ, right? I always like to teach, we save for a purpose. We don't save just to put money in the bank because the banker's using it, right? We're saving for a purpose, for something specific, and we're trying to reach an amount, right? So as long as at this age and they're, getting the birthday money or whatever, like, hey, $100, Dad, I'm going to go put $25 of this. I want to buy crypto, right? Like, cool. If that's the first thing, then these lessons you're teaching, they're sinking in.
Oh, definitely. And it's a joy. It's very even mind-boggling for me, when they get excited and they're like, oh, let's check our crypto, see where it's at, and they just get excited where it's at. And at that age, with the amount of growth that they've had, on their return, they just, it's, to them, it's kind of so surreal that they don't even believe it. Like, I have this much money, already.
Yeah.
And it's, and I think that right there is just a big motivator, because I already know my daughter, when she gets, Tooth Fairy money or anything, she's already ready. Like, hey, I'm ready to, buy some more or invest in something, Daddy. What do you, what? And she,
Right.
always picking my brain to kind of figure out what's the next move,
So how many people would you say know that you're doing this with your young children?
Not too many, to be honest. My close family, yeah, and friends with kids, I try to, because us dads, we're just trying to just become better, right? So we always have those talks, and I've brought it up a few times with them.
So what's been the feedback? I'm curious on the feedback. Why? Because I've had people tell me that age where your kids are at, that you teach them, like, that's way too early. Kids don't need to know that yet. That's too complicated. It's too much. Let it happen later, right? I 100% disagree, but so my question is, what is the feedback when you've shared with people and they know, hey, Ronnie's teaching his kids already about crypto investing and investing money, and they're like 5 and 8. Like, what's the feedback? Is it positive, negative, both?
It's positive, but it's more like they're in awe, like they don't believe it, because them themselves haven't even made those steps. And for them to see, it's kind of more of an eye-opener that, hey, my 5-year-old is doing this, why aren't you?
Right.
You right?
Yeah, right. And so what it is, though, but you're having exactly what my program's called, Money Conversations with KJ. You're having money conversations. And this is what I hope that more and more people do. Don't be afraid to have these types of conversations. But I think people are afraid, and correct me if I'm right or wrong, do you not talk to people about it because maybe you're afraid of some negative feedback? Like, what the heck's the matter with you? Why are you teaching those kids about that? Let them go out and buy their toys and play.
Not at all. My main thing is I think this has to be spreaded around, right? Because I feel like I wish someone would have told me earlier, if I could do that for their kids, right? Whether they believe it in or not, then I think my mission is complete in a way, And even for them, because there's a lot of people that kind of grew up in the same mindset as I did when I was younger, and they haven't really made that transition. And it's, for them, it's kind of inspiring for them to see, like, man, this 8-year-old's already doing what I should be doing. And it kind of inspires them to start getting motivated to do those things.
I would hope so. I would hope that people who don't have investing on their radar, and the reason most people don't invest is because they think they don't have enough money. Right.
Sure.
That's why they don't have enough money, or they don't know where to start. That's typically the reason why most people don't. Right. And that's just the wrong answer. I mean, that's the wrong mindset to have, because $10 a week you're investing. Right. And $10 a week over time is just adding up, and then it's compounding. And next thing you know, you're like, hey, man, look at this chunk of money I got. Right. So I never believe when someone says, they'll make, I call it an excuse. Right. Let me pay this bill off, or let me take care of that over there first. Or whatever these reasons are, and then I'll start investing, right? Yeah. When I get a little more money. But this is all just mindset and habit forming. Whenever we make money, whether it's a paycheck or, you did a project, you pay yourself first. That's what we're all supposed to do, right? Nobody's more important on this planet than ourselves. And take care of yourself first, and then go take care of all your obligations, right? So with that being said, you teach them about investing and whatnot, and they're at the age yet. I'll ask you first, then you can talk to me about what you did done with your kids. How old were you when you realized the world of credit, leveraging credit, and getting your first credit card?
Oh, okay. So it took me a while, because I got into just saving a lot of cash and just working as hard as I possibly could to save. Right. So I got to this point where it was all cash.
You had a bunch of cash.
Everything I bought was just cash.
Okay.
So I never built credit, right? So this is another thing where I wish someone would have taught me that too. It took me not to, I would say about 23 until I really focused on building my credit.
Okay.
Because before it was all cash, and it was hard, at the beginning, I couldn't even get a credit card.
Right. People have to learn how to get credit cards, right? You don't get a credit card just given to you. We have to, earn them. And typically, I teach this lesson, but if it wasn't until 23, it was totally not even within your mindset realm of like, I need to build at like 18 or whatever. I need to build credit. Yeah. I need to get a credit card to build credit because I'm going to buy a car one day or in a house and blah, blah, blah. And I need credit. But so really that didn't even come into effect until around 23?
Yeah, about 23. I'm kind of glad I did, because I had a lot of friends in college that would get credit cards and they would just run it up and actually messed up their credit, And at that point, I was like I said, I've always been just strictly cash. Some of my biggest purchases back then were just cash.
So do you think you knew, you had to have known about them, but you chose not to go down the road of developing and having credit until 23 because you saw other people not being successful and actually doing the wrong things with credit cards? Is that why you think you held off?
Yeah, that was one of the biggest things. And I just, I never felt good about owing anyone money. Mm-hmm. Right. So I figured, like, why would I go this route when I could potentially get myself in trouble?
Okay.
Or get a little over my head. At that age, you're just kind of spending. And my thing was, like, I sacrificed, to be able to save or to be able to, invest. And I felt like if I had that credit card, it'd just be too easy. Even though I did have some discipline, it just, in my eyes, it just didn't make much sense, because I didn't look at it from the standpoint of I needed to build credit, to get my own home or, Yeah,
I was going to say, what triggered it? What triggered it at 23? Like, now's the time. Was there something that happened in your life that just said, I have to do this now?
Well, at that age, you start wanting a nicer car, this and that. And I realized like, well, hey, I have the money, right? But to these guys, it doesn't matter. I need to go out there and now build my credit and work on my credit. I'm halfway there, and I feel like I was a step ahead of a lot of my peers and like my friends, as far as having the savings and having the ability to do these things. But the thing that was holding me back the most was no credit. So I made it my life mission at that time. And I remember clearly, like, my main goal was to build my credit. And I would say in less than 3 years, about 3 years, I was able to have no credit to have, a good score of like over 700. Mm-hmm. And that was like kind of the most satisfying thing for me in a way, because, when you're growing up, especially, lower income family, whatever, like you just feel like you're used to your surroundings, and not a lot of people like have good credit. And for me to be able to pretty much walk in anywhere and be able to just get given whatever I wanted due to my credit, was a great feeling, and it was a big accomplishment at that time.
Well, building credit is, first of all, learning how to do it. And, you'd mentioned it took you about 3 years to get a little over 700. And, when I teach people about credit, right, although credit does go to 850, or the magic number that we all want to reach as quick as we can is 750, because anything over 750, I like to call gravy. Yeah. You're going to get the same interest rate on a loan. You're going to get on a car, any big ticket item where you need to sign your name for your credit score. Like over 750, the guy with 790 is going to get the same interest rate as the guy with 750, right?
Correct.
He's not getting better. It's just not, right? And you know that because you're in the lending business, right? With learning about credit, did you just on your own? Did you reach out somehow? How did you learn like what you needed to do to build credit? Besides, obviously, you're being responsible with money, you're saving and this and that. And you had fear that I didn't want to get in the trap of getting credit cards and all of a sudden being a bunch of debt. And when you see, and colleges are very famous for this, right? And freshmen in college, you go to your college and all those companies are out there lined up on tables like, here's a credit card, just sign here, right? And then they just think it's free money. Well, it's not free money, right? If you use it, you got to pay it back.
Definitely.
And so they're just setting them up for failure, really, when you do that. But credit in today's society, as far as I'm concerned, is a great tool, not just to save and get the best rates on whatever you're buying, but it's a safer way to spend money. Okay, because you don't want to carry around your debit card, or you're not going to carry around a bundle of cash in your pocket. And when you can leverage a credit card and be responsible and pay that thing off before the end of the month, you're going to not just build your credit, you're going to also, then there's perks out there with a lot of the cards, not every card, but a lot of cards, right? Money, points, money cash back, that kind of thing. Miles, all that stuff, which are great perks to have. I know people, if you own a business and you use credit cards to pay all your bills, you're gathering enough miles to fly to your vacation for free. You're gathering enough, points to buy stuff or money cash back, right? So, I mean, there are really great perks to them. And it's just when I hear the phrase credit cards are bad, boy, that irks me so bad when I hear that, because I'm like, seriously? Reach in your pocket, grab your credit card. And they'll grab it. I go, what is that? It's a piece of plastic. You tell me how that piece of plastic is bad. It's a piece of plastic. It's like the water bottle here. Is this water bottle bad? No, right? It's the people who use them irresponsibly who give the reputation of credit cards being bad and not good for you. Use them responsibly. They're awesome, awesome tools. So have you had the conversation yet with your kids in credit?
Well, I have not dug in deep, yet at their age, but definitely I've given hints as far as right now. I'm just kind of building the foundation and just teaching them the tools they need, so when they get to that point, they'll be disciplined enough to understand it and know how to go about it and not get themselves in trouble. Yeah,
for sure. Sure. Let them, they obviously, they know about it at 5 and 8 years old, because they probably see you pay for dinner or gas or whatever with your card, right? Do they really understand the card and what it is? And I'm not saying give your 8-year-old a credit card. Heck no. But once they learn about it and they don't have to wait till they're 23 or have fear about getting it and understanding maybe I should probably start doing this around 15, 16. So when I actually start to make money in the real world, my credit's just going to build that much quicker.
Definitely.
You know what I mean? Yeah. My daughter at 20 years old bought a condo because I taught her how to build credit at 15. Fantastic. She bought it all on her own. I guided her through the process, but I didn't. A lot of parents, and you probably have seen this with younger buyers, their parents are signing, using their credit to buy their kid a house. And I remember when my daughter bought her condo, and a lot of people assume that, well, Kev, you just helped her buy that condo. I go, no, I did not. I says I've been showing her how to play the money game for years. And she had her goal. I want to buy a house at 20, condo, right, first place. Yeah. And she did what she had to do because I taught her, right. So I mean, super kudos to you teaching these kids these lessons so young. Just like you were ahead of your peers at 20, they're going to be way ahead of their peers at 20.
I definitely hope so. Yeah.
Yeah. Just keep following along with it. So based on what you're telling me, you're more of a saver than a spender.
Definitely, yeah. Yeah, I think that was kind of, how my foundation was built when I was younger, right?
From mom and dad. That's what you saw.
Yeah, and that's what I saw, and, I definitely saved more, but I got to a point where it's like, okay, well, live a little. You got to live life a little.
Well, you want to reap the benefits of your hard work, right?
Yeah.
And that's all fine, and we definitely should do that. We live on an amazing planet. We have so many amazing things that we can experience in life, and unfortunately, I mean, most of them cost money. Not everything costs money, but a lot of things do. And if you get in the habit of paying yourself first, and you know that you're working towards goals and they're reaching there, and you have extra expenditure money to go, kids at your ages, your kids' ages, like Disneyland. I'm sure, like, I want to go to Disneyland, right? And God knows we know how much it costs to go to Disneyland these days, right? So that that's a few bucks right there. So, but teaching those habits. So you're doing it generationally, right? I teach in my program. One of my modules is tradition, right? And so you're carrying on a tradition from your kids, from you to your parents. It's likely you probably should ask your mom or dad, hey, how was grandma and grandpa? How was your parents? Were they savers? Because you're a saver. Because sometimes in life, I find that we do the opposite of what parents do.
We tend to, yeah.
We tend to, right?
Yeah.
I think we tend to, we want to strive to do more than what our parents did, unless your parent was a major successful person, right? Then we got a bigger mountain to climb. But that when I talk about tradition, right, there's a lot of, picture and imagine there's kids out there that are the opposite. They're spenders because that's what they saw in the family. And they just thought, well, mom and dad always spent, so that must be normal. It's just what everybody does. And they never saw your family.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Yeah. And then you get to be that 18 to 22 age and you're wondering why you have more than the other person. Your habits are different with money.
Oh, definitely.
Right? And again, hence why, man, we just have to share as much as we can and have these money conversations. And we can have them without saying or asking people, well, how much money do you have?
Yeah.
What's in your bank? What do you got? We don't have to get personal like that to educate ourselves about money. So understanding mom and dad are savers, as an adult, when was the last money conversation you had with mom or dad? I mean, you're 38 now. Because sometimes I've got my conversations like, mom and dad are learning from me now because I've been a lot more proactive. So have you had money conversations with mom or dad that, or because they maybe asked you? They see what you're doing.
I definitely have. I unfortunately lost my dad, over 2020.
Oh, sorry to hear that.
What am I talking about? 2010. Sorry.
2010.
And so with my mom, now we do have a lot of conversations. I get her to kind of open her mind into investing more, because she's kind of still was stuck in that old mindset. But definitely any opportunity that I come across that I invest in, I definitely let her know that
you share with her.
I share it with her, and I just want her to kind of just step in her uncomfort zone, to just, to understand that, you're not that age, she has, she's learned so much about investing, through me, even at, in her, in her 50s,
right.
So It's never too late. I feel like it's never too late as long as, like you said, you take calculated risks and understand, what you're getting into, and at the same time, don't expect quick returns. You got to understand that, you're investing over time, and it's going to take time, but it's better than it just being under your mattress somewhere.
Right. I mean, if it's under the mattress, it's actually losing money. And if it's just in a standard account, it's losing money, right?
Yep.
Inflation is at, at the time we're recording this, inflation is at 9%, right? GDP's at like 5. So, all right, so you're -4. Your money can't be sitting in a bank. You're losing money, right?
Yep.
But it's all about, like you said, it's about the comfort zone, right? She's comfortable. She sleeps good at night knowing my money's safe in the bank. Well, maybe physically it's safe, right?
Yeah.
But it's actually, if she knew, if every day you could wake up, turn on your computer, and your computer told you lost $47 last night, you'd be like, what?
Yeah.
What do you mean? I went to bed, I woke up, I lost $47. How did that happen? Because your money's sitting in a regular savings account, ma'am, right?
Yep.
Like, if people knew that, I think they'd be a lot more proactive about, man, I've got to do something with my money. When I wake up every day, I want my computer to tell me, you made $47 last night while you were sleeping. You know what I mean?
No, that's a great feeling.
Right? Yeah, I mean, I think your people's mindsets would change real quickly. So you're 38. How long ago did you start thinking about some retirement at whatever level?
I would say when I was about 29.
29, you kind of reflected?
It was a little late, I feel like. But, when I was about 29, that's when I was, really starting to make the money that I envisioned when I was younger. And I was, concentrating, because my main thing, I sacrifice, even to this day. I sacrifice just to, whatever it is for my kids or just, for my future. Like, I'd rather put money somewhere and put it to work than go and splurge on something, and so I think that was the biggest thing. When I was about 29, I started thinking like, okay, well, what do I need to be doing? I got to be do something for myself for later, and that's when I got into like a Roth and like just different things, where I just felt, well, okay, well, this is for my future.
Right. What do you can you remember, because the fact that you just said 29 is 95% of the people that I talk to under the age of 40, that's the number that I keep hearing. It's plus or minus 30, right? And you said 29. And I just and I can't really remember. That's 30 years ago for me. So what triggers it? Why most people at plus or minus 30, at 30 years old, that you're start to take your life and money more serious, there needs to be something at the end of the rainbow, but we don't think about it when we're 18 or 20, which is when we really should think about it, because the value of time, right? So can you remember, did something happen in your life that triggered that? Just because I think the listeners are out there, and if they're 26, maybe 25 and listening, they're like, whoa, maybe I don't need to wait till I'm 30. And I should, listening to Ronnie here, maybe I better think about that right now. Yeah. Or I could have a listener out there that's 40 that hasn't figured that out yet. And holy crap, I need to start thinking about that. So, but sometimes it's got to be something in life, I believe, that triggers that. Like something happened. Can you remember?
For me, I got married. And, I think the transition for me, it was like, okay, I'm not a kid anymore.
Right.
I'm about to be 30 next year. So I better get going. You start thinking now, everything starts to hit you, oh man, I'm a grown adult now, I gotta now start focusing on my future for my family, and I think that was the biggest kick in the butt for me, is just wow, I'm gonna be 30 already.
So that's about when you got married? You got married right around that age?
Yeah, 29. Yeah.
Yeah. See, well, again, there's a life, for sure, that could be a major life trigger. And picture and imagine if you didn't get married at 29 and it was 35, do you think you would have not thought about that yet? You would, at 35, still acting like a 25?
Yeah, maybe. Being married or being with a significant other definitely keeps you grounded and puts things in perspective for you. So it's no telling. If I was never in that situation, if when I would have pulled the trigger to start investing in my future.
Well, when that happened and it clicked for you. Do you remember having this conversation with your soon-to-be wife? Like, hey, we're now almost 30. we got to start talking about some more serious things. We're talking about spending the rest of our lives together. Did you know how her money habits were before you got married? Did you talk about the things that you wanted to do with money before you got married? I mean, that seems to be a definitely focal point in a lot of people's lives. Like marriages, now it's not just about me, right? Now it's about my spouse, and then we're going to have kids, and now it's totally not about me, right? Kind of thing. So do you remember those conversations you had, and what kind of input or maybe things that you learned from her?
Yeah, well, it definitely changed our mindset, when we got to that age, that certain point of like, now let's, talking about life and what we wanted for our future, bringing up kids and things like that, right? Before then, I've like I said, I've always valued money and saved. She was like the opposite of me.
She's a spender.
Spender.
Okay.
She made it quick, spent it faster. So I think the biggest thing when I made her realize as well, what we were trying to build for our family, for ourselves. She did make the transition into, saving more, and
she changed her habits then.
Yes, because I think at that time it was like she had no goal to get to, right, as far as money wise, and once you start thinking about a family and all that, now you get goals, you set these goals in place, and I think that's why it's huge, like you said, writing down your goals, because you want to know and you want to be able to self-reflect on, like, how can I realistically get there, right, and start being acting on it.
So you basically changed, it sounds like, I mean, you helped her change her money habits, her money mindset, more talking about more goals. Now there's family goals. It's not just about her either, right? Now she's got to be like, well, we're a team now, kind of a thing. And now you've been married, what, 8-9 years?
Well, yeah, we're no longer married now, but we're definitely some great co-parents. So, yeah. So,
did you see a big change in her with money?
I definitely did. I feel like, it kind of clicked for her as far as, let's sacrifice now to live later, and build something together.
Well, good, yeah. Because I'm sure, she's mom, and I'm sure the kids are telling her what they're doing and that kind of thing. Hers would be a great story to hear why, she was just a spender until that age, never thought about it. And I'm sure it's just, and there's nobody's fault here if her parents didn't teach her. Yeah. I mean, I always say parents can't teach what parents don't know. And we're just going through life trying to figure this thing out. And this planet offers so many amazing things to us, and people want a lot more than they need. But that's okay. But if you made a positive impact and she's better with money today, even though you guys aren't together, that's a great thing for society.
Yes,
right.
Definitely.
Because she can be a role model, not just for her kids, but for friends and family.
Yeah, definitely.
You know what I mean? So, how much do you think about retirement today, and what are you actually doing? What does retirement mean to you? What does it look like for you?
For me, I just picture, my kids are younger now, so I picture, being on the road, traveling with the baseball team, and, supporting my kids in whatever they decide to do. I think that's the biggest thing for me when I look at retirement. I love to play golf, as well as you do. Mm-hmm. I would love to travel the world and just play, all the golf courses, beautiful golf courses out there. But I think the biggest thing is just to be able to support my kids through their journey, and having that time, to be involved in their lives as much as I possibly can.
So those are, to me, very realistic retirement goals, because never once did you say, I want to be a millionaire. I want to have 10 million, 20 million. And not to say that's not important to you, but it definitely doesn't sound like it's in the top 5.
I just feel like in the path, kind of where I'm headed and all the sacrifice that I made in my life, like, I feel like that's a given. Right. And honestly, like, yes, money's important, but it's not as important to me as family. Right. It is important for me to teach my kids to, how to manage money, and, so they could eventually, do the things that I want to do and experience with them, but at the end of the day, like, money doesn't buy happiness. That's kind of how I look at it.
You know what? That's a funny saying. I'm glad you said that saying, because Tony Robbins says when you hear someone say that money can't buy happiness, it's typically money, people that have never had a lot of money, because money can buy a lot of happiness. Money can't make you happy, but it can buy happiness, meaning you could be miserable as hell, broke as heck, and then just be the lucky guy who hit the lotto, and you're going to be really happy that now you can go buy a house and a car and go on vacations. You're going to be a really happy person. Likely, statistically, we know lottery winners go broke within years because they don't know how to manage money, right? They never learn that part of it. So it's a short-term party, money party. You know what I mean? So I want to make sure people understand, yes, money can buy happiness. It's just a type of happiness, right, that you want. And my understanding as I'm reading you now, that's a different type of happiness that you're looking for, right? Family's more important. You want to make memories, right? I remember when I was 20 and my grandfather was dying, and he just told me, he says, Kev, don't make money, make memories. Money will always come. You're always going to make money, make memories. But on the other hand, hey, it takes money to make, different types of memories. I'm not going to say good memories, because I've had great memories in the backyard with friends and family. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I just want to make sure that's a saying I try not to let people get too tight into, that money can't buy happiness, because for sure it can. It's typically short-term happiness.
Yes, and that's kind of like what I mean is short-term happiness. At our age, we kind of gone through our ups and downs in life, and we fulfill that short-term euphoria of money, right? And I think nowadays it's at the end of the day, you want to have money, you want to be able to retire with a good amount of money, but at the same time, if I'm not happy, what good does it?
There's plenty of multimillionaires that are miserable.
Exactly.
Miserable.
Yeah, and I see that, from people that I learned off of, and I see that now, and it's like, well, dude, is that what I want to do? Is that my goal in life, right? Because you work towards wanting to be like them and kind of go on their path, and it's just one thing that it's got to be. No matter how much money I have, I want to be. It's more important for me to be genuinely happy where I'm at in life, inside and out.
Well, I think if people understand that with more money comes more responsibility, right? When you're really starting to build some wealth,
that
right?
Is true.
It doesn't take a lot of money to be happy, right? You don't have to have 100,000 cash in the bank to be happy. You could have 10 grand in the bank and be real happy. You know what I mean? Maybe financially you're not quite reaching your goals yet with only 10 in the bank, but you still could be happy, right? But with I think that's why a lot of people have fear, their anxiety about money. You have to learn how to actually handle money, right?
Yep.
And you're better off slowly stair-stepping your wealth to your way to wealth, rather than leapfrogging. All of a sudden, grandpa left you, $250,000 in the will. Because when that happens, usually if someone gets left $250,000, they're spending $200,000.
Yeah, you don't value it.
You didn't value it because you didn't earn it. And if you stair-step, right, you work hard, whatever you're doing in life to earn the money, right, and it comes at you, you're like, well, I worked hard for that, so I'm not squandering. You know what I mean? Versus the people who do. Well, let's see. My last question here, and this one here I'd like to ask, because you're at 38, a lot of life lessons, married, kids, divorced, got your parents. What would you tell, looking back now, if you could sit for 30 minutes and give your 21-year-old self some advice? What would you tell your 21-year-old self?
Oh, that's a tough one. I would say, most importantly, get out of your comfort zone. All right? Push yourself to limits that you never felt you could go to, Because a lot of times, we kind of get stuck in our own head, and we kind of put limitations on ourselves.
Where do you think that comes from?
I think it's just, it almost comes from being afraid of failure, in a sense, and I think that's the biggest key in life, to not be scared to fail, right? To understand how to accept failure. Are you going to let it, just totally kill your spirit and just not want to just be motivated at all anymore? Are you going to that's one thing I teach my kids, hey, if you fail at something, you get up and you go, you dust yourself off, you try again, right? And it's the biggest thing with me is their fears. If they know, if they're scared of something, guess what? Daddy's going to make you do it, just because I want to teach them, face your fear, get out of your comfort zone, because that's where greatness happens. I agree.
I think unfortunately society over a long period of time, 50, 80 years, failing has always been a negative thing.
Yeah.
Right? It's a negative stigma. You failed. Oh, you're bad. You suck. Blah, blah, blah. Right? Like, I think if society rewarded people for failing, but I call it failing forward.
Yep.
Meaning I failed, but I learned. My takeaway from this failure was XYZ, right? Whatever that may be. If you fail at something and you don't look back and see why it is that you failed, right? Let's say you're a young kid and you're a team player on a sport and you lost because you didn't try your best. Everybody tried their best and you didn't, right? Yeah. Now you got to reflect, man, next year in the games, I'm trying harder because I don't like this feeling of losing. You know what I mean? So I think if when our kids, your kids, our kids, anybody, we see them fail, right? Hey, let's look at this. What happened? Why did this not work out? Let's not call it a failure. Let's call it a learning stepping stone.
Yeah, that's what it is. Yeah.
That would take away fear and actually be like, I tried my best and this is what happened and I'm definitely going to win next time.
Yeah, definitely.
You know what I mean? So looking back, telling you, that's a great answer. That's what you would tell your 21-year-old self. So do you feel like you held yourself back on certain things because of fear?
Yeah, at times, when you're younger, you're scared and like, you've sacrificed so much in your life to get to where you're at, to get an amount of money, and the fear of losing it, fear of not being right, kind of overcomes that, right? But at the same time, you're not understanding that failure is the biggest lesson for you. It's the biggest motivator for you, right? And once you're not scared to fail and you're willing to face it head on, that's when, great things happen and, you reach to the heights and levels where you never felt you could get to. But if you're always scared to make that leap, you're never going to know,
100%. I think the more we fail, the less it hurts.
Yeah.
Right.
And the more you learn.
Yeah, the more you learn and you won't be as fail. And I find that when I get on the other side of whatever this fear was, of whatever you were afraid of doing, spending money, doing something specific, when you get on the other side of it, that you actually got there and you look back, 99 out of 100, you're like, why the hell was I scared?
Yeah.
What was there to be really scared about? And so now next time you get to the fear of, making a decision, you're like, what am I really afraid of here?
Exactly. And that was the biggest lesson in my life. And that's why I try to, preach that to my kids. For an example, we went out to Cowabunga Canyon, a couple of weeks ago. There was just the biggest slide there. My son's 5. He's like, oh no, he's scared. Like almost just the thought of going on there. Like it's just, he's so terrified, almost, bringing a tear to his eye.
Right.
And I was like, look, buddy, like, you're with daddy, nothing's gonna, you're fine, you're okay, nothing's gonna happen to you.
I got you.
Yeah, I got you, but I want this to be a life lesson for you. You're scared of this thing, but I guarantee if you get on there, it's gonna be the funnest time you ever had, And he was like, all right, daddy. So he went on it.
Because he trusted you.
He trusted me.
You're dad.
He went on. He went on it like about 6 more times after that.
Right.
So that was one thing for me. I want him to not be that fear overcome who he is, or prevent him to really, living out his true talents in life or whatever it is. I want him to be able to, take it as a lesson either way. And like, if you overcome your fears, like you said, like you can look back at it and be like, wow, that was so easy. I wish I would have done that, years ago, but I was just always too scared to.
Wow. Well, guys, that was awesome, Ronnie. I think some great takeaways. That last one there, reflecting on fear. Guys, fear is going to hold us back on so many things in life. And again, it's one of those things, easier said than done, right? But when you get there, really calculate that. And 99 out of 100 times, you're going to get on the other side and look back and be like, why was I scared of that? I made it through. I'm fine, and things are working out great. So, Ronnie, I really appreciate you coming out today, sharing your story with the people. I think, man, A lot of great things. It just shows that we are the people that our parents raised, right? And that's who the people we usually become. And if it's not the person you want to be, don't blame mom and dad. You need to be proactive in making a change in your life like we always are trying to do. So for you guys that are out there on YouTube watching me, do me a favor, subscribe to that channel, hit that like button, and come out. There's more episodes that come out every week just about. And for you guys out on the podcast world, hey, subscribe to that channel. A lot more coming out. So until the next one, you guys have a good week, and we'll see you on the other side. Hey everybody, hope you enjoyed that episode. Really enjoyed making all these episodes for you. Remember, we're just having conversations with people's journey with money and the things they did right with it, the things that did wrong with it, and how did they really come about getting their mindset with money. So every episode's different. We all have a good takeaway from them. So do me a favor, hit the like button, smash the like button, and subscribe to my channel, because every episode that I do is going to be different, as all our journeys are different. So you guys take care, and we'll talk to you next week.